Controlled Chaos here. I have an interview with one of the players of Stars Reach. Chase, how are you doing today?
Doing good.
That's good. So, I want to get to know a bit about you and things like that. So, first off, I want to start off with how did you get into video games?
I am 53. I got my first computer in 1980,
Hmm.
and it's been downhill ever since.
I've been there. See, I got my first computer in the late 80s. My brother handed me his Commodore 64 when he got the new Commodore 64. And it was downhill from there. Plus, my grandmother got us an Atari 2600 and stuff like that. So it was a downhill battle after that, which is nice. So, with that being said, how did you hear about Stars Reach?
Honestly, a Facebook ad.
Facebook ad. Okay. And what attracted you to Stars Reach?
I played. Don't know if I played the alpha. I know I played the beta of Ultima Online. I
Mm.
was in, I think, alpha and beta for Star Wars Galaxy. So I've kind of followed Raph's career down the line.
Oh, you were lucky being the beta for Ultima Online. I missed that one because I have a computer at the time. I did do the beta for Star Wars Galaxies. And at the same time, I was also doing the beta for Planet Side. So I was playing both a game that Raph worked on and a game that Dave Jordanson worked on at the same time, which is really cool. Um, and so with that being said, um, what's some of your favorite things to do in Stars Reach?
Dig, build.
Dig? You like mining, huh?
If you've seen my mountains, wow, there's tunnels everywhere.
Hmm. That's me. It's the resource hunting in digging and mining. I find
Yes.
that just so satisfying. I mean, with you playing, I'm pretty sure you've played other MMOs too. How much resource harvesting do you enjoy in those MMOs?
I'm pretty much a hoarder.
You're a hoarder, so you no matter what you do a lot of harvesting and gathering, and inventory is always full, having to figure out what to get rid of or add more inventory space.
Yeah, my EQ2 was banks full of every tier, guild bank full.
Yeah, I've been there. I'm that's the one feature I'm waiting for them to put into Stars Reach is storage.
I hope they give us a lot.
I hope what they do is they give us storage boxes to put in our house, and as long as we have the resource to build the box, we can put them in the house.
Yeah.
So we can have a huge storage in our homesteads. That would be really cool. So what's the one thing that you don't enjoy in Stars Reach?
I don't know. The older I get, the less I'm into combat. But I do kind of enjoy it here and there.
Hmm.
Just not as much.
I somewhat agree with you. I still enjoy combat. I'm not in that cozy realm yet myself.
Not that old.
But the one thing I do like about the combat in the Stars Reach is when you're fighting the mobs, every so often they drop these buffs. What are your thoughts of them doing that?
Those are pretty cool. I like the little grenades too, where I always thought they were blowing me up, but then I figured out that it blows up the mobs, so I use those quite a bit.
Yeah, I thought the same thing first when I ran over. I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna take. Wait, I didn't take any damage, and the mobs are gone. Oh, okay, this is cool. So, with them updating the game so frequently, are you surprised at how quickly, since you've been in previous betas, of how quickly, even in pre-alpha, they're adding to the game?
Yeah, I actually made a post not too long ago about time wise, but it's moving pretty quick, little faster than the date that they were talking about. I was like, that seems kind of iffy, but I don't know, maybe they'll pull it off.
Yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that surprised me is how often they're updating. And something I've been getting comments on some of my videos about Stars Reach is how this is a scam. And the first thing I come back to them with is if this was a scam, they would not be updating the game this frequently. They would barely be updating the game. They'd be more commenting on the future of the game in my mind. So in no way do I see this as a scam type product.
Same as here's some screenshots. Give us money. Here, you can actually play the game. Now
Exactly.
we'd like to get have some.
Well, and that's what I liked about the way they did the Kickstarter is they invited the people who, they invited a lot of people to that were interested in the game to play the game, to get a feel with it. That made it, I think, the reason why the Kickstarter was so successful, because of so many failed MMOs in the past. It was always, oh, we have this idea but no gameplay to really show you. Whereas Stars Reach was like, okay, here's our game, come check it out, and if you're interested, back us. I think that was a smart move on their part. What are your thoughts on how they did the Kickstarter?
I have 2 lifetime accounts, so if that says anything.
Yeah, I well, also, were you in the test before the Kickstarter, or did you join in during or after the Kickstarter?
Yeah, here I made a note. I actually signed up in September and I got in November 8th.
So you were in before the Kickstarter.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which of course made it probably way easier for when they did the announcement of the Kickstarter and putting that out for you to go, okay, here's my money, because you actually got to see the game and the progression of it.
Yeah, I was in beta round. So I was second round of the people coming in. And
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I was in. That's why I said I've put a pretty substantial amount of money in just because I love it that much.
okay, cool. Now I know that there's a lot of guilds already happening in Stars Reach, even though there isn't a guild functionality in the game. Players are already creating guilds, and one of the more famous ones is Gunk. Are you in one of those guilds that are formulating around the game?
No.
No. So you're just off doing your own thing. Do you plan on joining a guild?
Oh, I'm sure I will. I know I've actually talked to the Gunk people and some of the other ones that said, hey, when we go live, I'm going to have a planet. Let's work together and make some cool stuff.
Okay. And what profession are you planning on mainly focusing on when the game's live?
Well, that's why I have 2 accounts. I'm going to have one that pretty much is harvesting, crafting, and then I'll probably have some sort of adventure.
Adventure type character. Now, when you're talking adventure, are we talking exploring, checking out the planets, or more along the lines of combat adventure?
I think the 2 kind of go together.
They can, yeah, because when you're exploring, especially when they're talking about those maker labs, that you'll see combat in there, and especially since you're also into digging the underground tunnels with maybe running across hostile animals and stuff like that, you'll have the combat there.
Oh yeah, got to have a little bit of backup for you, even if
Oh
you're
yeah,
good.
definitely. So of the the weapons that we have now, which is the Omni Blaster, the drones, and the gravity gun, which of those is your favorite?
I really like the drones. I don't have a grab gun because I haven't gotten any cerium or whatever that's.
Hmm. Yeah, I really like the drones too. I'm waiting to see what they do with that. That's going to be very interesting. What is a skill tree that you're interested seeing being put into the game?
Oh, I'd have to go hit the website and look it up. Ask me a different question. We'll roll back to that.
Okay, well, okay, what is a skill tree you'd like to see put into the game?
No.
For me, it's bounty hunter. I want to see bounty hunting in the game because I really liked the way they originally did bounty hunting in Star Wars Galaxy. I've been formulating ideas of how they could do bounty hunting, especially with all the missions being created by players. You can put a bounty on another player that's taken you out or stolen some goods or broken the law type of thing. Would be very interesting.
Yeah, there again, like I said, I'm not a huge combat guy. I had a rifleman in Star Wars. I'm much more of the ranged combat.
Yeah. Okay. Now with the way they've been doing homesteads and stuff like that, have you really built any interesting homesteads?
Oh yeah, I build a lot.
Oh, you build a lot? Okay. That's gonna be cool to I'll have to stop by and check out some of your builds.
I'm usually up in the mountain there on Roden. I've got
On Mountain on Road. Okay. When I
yeah, I've
go
got
jump in next
3 in
time, I'll have
there.
to jump in there. Now that we actually have very few wipes happening and they only happen when they need to happen, it's sort of nice because back when it was every playtest was a wipe, I found that there was no real reason to build except for testing purposes. And now that they're not doing the wipes so often, I'm now building for the fun of it. Are you feeling the same way?
Yeah, I was still building even when we
Yeah.
not like the day-to-day test during Kickstarter, but before that, I mean, if we had a week, I would still build.
For me, it was just sort of sad seeing me put all that work in and then seeing it get erased. It was like, oh
Yeah,
man.
I don't mind too much. You get a couple of good screenshots.
Yeah. Put in some good memories. Now, what's the most interesting thing that's happened to you in Stars Reach so far that you went, wow, this is insane?
Well, I don't know about insane. I had built I was building a mountain
Mm-hmm.
and I was tunneling through, and some guy started tunneling farther, and he tunneled through and brought a bunch of mobs into my house. That was pretty.
How long did it take you to clear out all the mobs?
I don't. I think he ended up getting killed, and I think they moved on, or it was the next day. I forget.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to go in and hole up a spot there to keep him out.
Okay. So with that, there's what other types of games do you play?
Let's see. I've got. I had played a little bit of Elder Scrolls lately. I played this goofy game called Wylands, which like nobody plays on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a digger builder.
Okay. And which Elder Scrolls are you playing?
Elder Scrolls, the Oblivion remastered, and then I've got thousands and thousands of hours on Elder Scrolls Online.
Elder Scrolls Online, I play that a lot. I also play a lot of Daggerfall. I always go back to Daggerfall for the randomly generated dungeons.
And I still play a little bit of Star Wars Galaxies, one of the emulators.
Which emulator do you play on Star Wars Galaxies?
Let me see. Infinity?
Infinity? Yeah, I play on Restoration. Because I
That's
tried.
post NGE, isn't it?
Say that again?
That's post NGE, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
See, I didn't. That's pretty much when I quit Star Wars. I like the old original.
yeah, I'm the same way. The stuff where they turned everything into classes, that's when I dropped off on playing Star Wars Galaxies. I liked Star Wars Galaxies when it was the skill system. And that's one of the main things that interested me in Stars Reach, along with the you can alter the terrain and stuff like that. And that's when I really got sort of into it because I also play No Man's Sky and I'm used to all of the resources being on top of the ground, not having no real reason to dig underground to get to resources. And when I saw that right away, that's how Stars Reach works, is you have to dig deep underground to get resources, is amazing. The way I found out about that was I was in a play test where Dave Jordanson was digging around and found a giant area of gold and create a mine shaft right next to one of the it was on the portal on Rodiant, and a bunch of us going in there and getting
Oh, the
gold.
big gold, the gold
Yeah,
line. Yeah, it runs halfway through that zone.
yeah, it was amazingly cool. And that's when I sat there and said, okay, I think I'm addicted to mining in Stars Reach. And I think the other reason I'm addicted to mining in Stars Reach is all the possibilities of the danger. You don't know if you're going to run into lava or sand or gravel above you or water, especially when they put in the swimming mechanics and the possibility of being drowned, the finding the servitor labs, or finding a cave that's underground with a bunch of creatures that are hostile. You don't see that in a lot of games, and that's the one thing that I really like that Stars Reach is doing, is they're pushing the boundaries of MMOs. And what are your thoughts of them changing the way MMOs are played and the boundaries that they're putting with Stars Reach?
Well, it's like I discovered lithify, and
Mhm.
holy crap, you got to have that if you're going to dig through dirt to get down to the stone. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think it's going to change kind of gaming because it's going to make people make even first person games that have these types of features going forward. You don't see it in other games.
Yeah, you don't. And that's why I think is great, because I mean, you look at the back in the history, Minecraft. When Minecraft came out, it became big, and then everyone was copying Minecraft. And then there were the battle royales came out, PUBG and stuff like that. And then battle royales became big. I think what Stars Reach is doing is, if it hits off big, I think there's going to be a lot of copycats coming out with those mechanics.
Maybe they can license the technology, make some money.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to do it, is to license it, and it would make a great way for them to sort of shore things down. Now, they've talked a bit about how they're doing monetization, and how it's going to be sort of a free to play game with paying for homestead spots and things like that. What are your thoughts on the direction they're going with monetization?
I don't have a problem with subscriptions. I mean, I've paid $9.99, $14.99 for the last 20 years between EverQuest 2, you name it. Well, I don't mind, but I did in this case. I bought the lifetime subs just
Mhm.
because that way I don't have to mess.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a smart move. I wish I could have afforded the lifetime subs. In fact, what I really like is that they're taking that Kickstarter that they did, and they're running it on their own website, so that if you see something out there that's out of your price range, you can do a monthly payment plan. What are your thoughts of
Yeah,
them
that's
doing that?
that's a nice feature. I I get a little squirrely about hey, we're going to cut off this stuff at a certain point,
Mhm.
which I did that with Age of Ashes of Creation, which fit over there about that, which they didn't do it. But no, I mean that's great. If somebody the game's not going to be out for a year, if you want to cut it up, pay it for a year, hell yeah, more power to folks being
Yeah.
able to get that sort of thing.
Okay. And with that being said, have you, with the new update, they showed glimpses of what's coming with character customization when you create a new character. Did you get a chance to look at that? Did you create a new character and see those screens?
Yes, pretty cool.
What did you
It's
think
real
with what they were showing in those screens?
well. A lot of it was blurred out,
Yes.
but yeah, I mean it's going to be nice. You'll have go in and do your standard character creation and pick your race, pick your face, pick your hair and eyes and everything else.
Yeah, well, the other thing I saw was the other screen where they showed the triangle where it had health, focus, and endurance. and you literally had this dot, and you could choose anywhere in there to determine how much health you had, how much focus you had, and stuff like that. What do you think of that idea for also doing customization of the character for the stats?
Well, that's, if you look back at Star Wars Galaxies, you
Mhm.
used to do that. If you're going to be in combat, you would do health. If you were going to be, the other one, you do mind power, and then they would have buffs that you could buff up the other classes.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of I think following the tradition of that.
I think it's following the tradition, but in that case, it was more of a point system and spraying out your points how you feel fit. With what they were showing with that triangle, it's more of place the dot in the triangle for what your primary, your secondary, and your tertiary would be of stats.
Yeah,
And
like I'm going to be digging, which is probably going to take stamina
yeah,
or something of that nature, and instead of hit points, so I would have more stamina versus more hit points because I'm not doing combat.
well, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing that's going to be interesting is, for you, you would want to put in stamina because especially with the climbing and using the grav mesh and stuff like that, you need it. And what are your thoughts of the like grav mesh, the grapple, and the climbing and movement mechanics in the game?
I love them. Can't live without my grav mesh. The only thing that drives me crazy is when you catapult up into a small hole
Mhm.
and and if you jump, you die. That one bothers.
Yeah, well, it is pre-alpha, so
Oh,
hopefully they'll be able to get to fixing it. But I mean, even if they don't,
I just got
I think
smarter
I
about
could
digging
survive.
bigger holes at the entrance.
Yeah. Now, what's one thing that you see in the game that bothers you right now that that you hope they fix for release?
Like I said, my stuff probably all goes back to combat. I know that there was an update we did a month or 2 months ago, and
Mhm.
they created these just crazy mobs, and they were everywhere, and they were impossible to kill. Drove me crazy.
Oh, you're talking about when they did the mob difficulty levels and showing the different colors for how tough they were.
Yeah, when they first, and then everything on the map was red.
Yeah.
There was like no normal mob. But I
Yeah,
understand why they did it. But that was a tough week for me.
that was a tough week, but for me, that was a very fun week. But I'm also more combat orientated.
Exactly.
Now, did you hear about Gunk running a test where they took out makers of aggressive mobs to sort of pacify the planet?
I was out of town that weekend. Yeah, they went and took out. I think they went to pretty much every planet and was wiping out the makers.
Yeah.
I normally where I kind of build. There's always one or two, and I'll go ahead and try to catch them first thing before they get tough.
Hmm. So, with that, have you read a lot of the lore and story of Star's Reach?
Yep, but every bit of it.
And what are your thoughts of the lore and story that Raph's created for this universe?
There's a lot of time jumps, so it gets kind of a little. It can be a little confusing, but then you're like, oh, okay, well, here's this and that, and it makes sense, but it does meander a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand time jumps if they're done right. So and that's sort of my thing. I don't like time jumps where it's like, okay, we're gonna jump forward, then we're gonna jump back, then we're gonna jump forward. I like everything to be sort of like in a historical order for me personally.
Yeah, or put a date on it.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
present
Now,
pat, put a year, something.
yeah, what race are you planning on playing as in Stars Reach?
I don't know. I play a cat now. My alt account is a human. I don't know. Some of the new ones I think are pretty interesting. I think like the Bay,
Mm,
or the underwater one, Sylvan, I think, or something like that,
yeah.
which sounds pretty cool too.
Okay. And now, are you planning on if they put NPC merchants or like a merchant kiosk in the game for your own personal shops? Are you planning on having one of those?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, are you planning on participating in any part of the political system to run a planet or a solar system?
Well, I have a planet, so I'm going to have to be involved in that.
Oh, you got one of the tiers where you get to create and have your
I
own
got the
planet.
Nebula server
Yeah.
or Nebula server.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the wild wormhole update?
I like it. It's interesting. We get a one-time, one-day shot to go, pull up some resources or different things and check stuff out. The last one I thought was a little too dark.
Hmm.
That's okay. I made my little headlamps and got around.
Well, and that's the thing is those caves you need to make dark.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun of exploring is not being able to see all around you or fully ahead of you. It sort of adds that suspense for me.
Yeah, I got way down deep and I got some critters somehow got in there and I had to boogie on out of there.
Well, you could have taken out the critters.
They were those the new one, the cricks or whatever they're called, the ones that duplicate every time you shoot them.
Oh yes, I
It's
played
like, oh
around with
no.
them a lot, especially after I found them because Dave Jordanson sort of said you need to find them. He literally called me out and said you need to find these.
And then gives that evil laugh that he gives.
That laugh,
Love it. He did that back in Landmark.
Yeah,
We'd do something. He'd, ha, ha, ha.
that's his tell of hey, I worked on this.
Oh yeah.
And I love that. What are your thoughts of the developers actually jumping in the voice chat when we're testing? And I'm not just talking any developers. I'm talking all the way up to Raph himself will be in there.
When we were in Galaxies, and we do test, he was around a lot in chat,
Mm-hmm.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in 2000, what, 2 or 3 or something.
Yeah.
But he was, like I said, he was around. They were pretty vocal in Star Wars, a lot. I think that it's really cool that pretty much all of them kind of hang out in there. So you really do get a variation of different stuff. And Raph's always exciting to have him sit and tell stories around the fire there.
Yeah, that is always fun to sit and chat with him. It's like yesterday when we were chatting and he was talking about, how he sort of got started into doing MMOs and the gaming industry and stuff like that was very interesting to hear, and really nice. But it's sort of interesting that, because you've tested many other games. How often do you see it that the developers are, every so often in the game actually chatting with the players, letting it be known that they're there?
Not a whole lot. Like I said, Landmark. Dave was in chat a lot,
Yeah.
for those days. Star Wars Galaxies. They didn't really have voice chat back in the Ultima Online days.
Yeah, it was all text chat, but it's because it was the capabilities of what internet could handle at the time.
But I'm in an alpha for another game, which I really wish I hadn't have backed. And nothing. Pretty much quiet.
Wow, that's the other thing that gives you the reassurance is the developers being in there to chat with. That's got to reassure you that they're serious about the game and working on the game.
Oh yeah, and Rod. I mean, Rod's the
Rod. Yeah, he's the one there almost all the time, unless he's on vacation or got a day off or whatever. He's there, but even when he's not there, they have other developers there, hanging out. And I really sort of like that effect.
We'll probably get Dave tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's the thing that I like with talking with these different developers is the creativity that they have in what they do is really nice. And the fact that they get to use that creativity, What were your thoughts of Raph's statement of saying, this is my idea for a living world, but this is also your game too. Send me your ideas. Do
I
you
mean,
feel
honestly,
that's honest and they're really doing that, or you know?
yeah, I mean, this is kind of the accumulation of his entire career
Yeah,
of building up, and the technology's there now, and he's like, I get to build the game I want to build. Y'all come along. And if you got good ideas, let's have them. Let's make this even better.
yeah. And what are your thoughts of how we're influencing the game and what they do? For instance, farming. They were going to be putting in farming, and now they're holding it back because they're putting in more ideas that are given by seeing how people like the gunk players and people have been interacting with the harvesting of the plants and trees. What do
Well,
you
they
think about that?
they they looked at what they were doing and they said, "Ah, we didn't have anything near that. Let's do that." I mean, they're doing it better than our idea, so let's go with that. I mean, it can be a double-edged sword in some cases, because then you get the a vocal minority that wants to change a lot of things, and you kind of have to stick to your guns to what you want to build.
Mm-hmm.
But if you find something that's better, do it. Go with it. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. So you'd prefer that if they see something players doing, they see a better way to improve it to make it better for the players, that they delay something like they're doing with farming, than instead of just putting out what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't just do it in a day. I mean, that stuff takes time.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I find that very interesting that they're actually doing that. And I like that because then it doesn't just feel like it's Raph's game. It feels like it's our game. It's everyone's games. It's Raph's game and idea, but the developers are also getting to put in ideas, and then us players are getting to put in ideas and show them how we're using the game that makes them change things. I find very unique and refreshing in the video gaming space. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd probably say it's Raph's dream,
Mm-hmm.
or legacy, and it's our game. Um, and you know, sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you got to watch and not do feature creep, or put yourself into a corner where it's not going to work. But hey, they can figure it out. Cool.
Well, that's the thing that I've noticed with Raph, though, is that he'll say, well, this is what we want to try to do. And so I see him doing a lot of setting expectations. He'll say, okay, this is the way it's going to be. This is what we are going to do. This is what we want to try to do. And this is what the dream is, with so many different things about the game. I've never really seen that from other developers, where they set those levels of expectations for different parts of the game. How are you liking with how Raph is doing that?
Well, he's probably learned from mistakes of, if you promise something, you best back it up.
Yeah.
So you don't want to promise something you can't give. And if you say, hey, we like this idea, or we want to do this, we'll see. There's stuff that he said, hey, we want to do this, but it's not going to be on, for release down the line somewhere. So hell yeah. I mean, that's honesty is the best, policy, as they say, but don't
Right.
overpromise, because it'll come back to bite you.
Now, with that, what's one feature that Raph has stated he wants to see in the game, but he's not sure if it's actually going to be in the game because of either technical issues, time restraints, or things like that?
I think their biggest one right now is going to be gases,
Mm-hmm.
um, and some water stuff, just because it's historically been problematic
Yeah.
of getting it under some sort of control.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The one that personally interests me is the idea of the journalist skill tree. And the fact
Yeah,
that they
he's
want to
talking about good.
have the YouTube API and Twitch API to integrate into their game so that, we can be showing off videos in the game and stuff like that, and that we gain experience from people watching our videos is a very unique, interesting idea. And the only thing really, I think, holding it back is, like he said, getting access to those APIs and getting permission from YouTube and Twitch. And I think if either Twitch or YouTube turns them down on that, I think it's a bad move on their part. And do you agree with that?
One of the hardest things that they do, probably technology wise, to put into the game. But I think they're smart enough that they'll make a mocked up version of it and go, here's what we have.
Yeah.
They're not just going to go ask. They're going to say, hey, look at this. Check this out. They'll be
exactly. And that is a smart way to do it, because when I was working on an independent game studio, I remember we were trying for a contract to make a video game on Car Wars from Steve Jackson Games. And I was brought on to do a mock-up of how the UI would look in the video game. And so I went back through the rule book looking at drawings of interfaces that they had and stuff like that, and did my mock-up around that. And I remember sitting in the presentation and Steve Jackson looking at this, and he's just like, okay, first thing I gotta bring up is who did the UI, because it fits our world perfectly. And I remember feeling really sort of good about that. So I think by them doing just a mock-up of, this is what we intend to do with your API, and this is how we're going to integrate it into our system, is a smart move.
Show, don't tell, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because if you just tell, then you're going to get people who are going to waver more. Whereas if you show and get people to interact with it, they get a feel for it, and that gets more interest going. And just once again, it goes back to how they did the Kickstarter of, they didn't just tell, they showed, and they showed a lot. And that got them amazing success with the Kickstarter. What do you think the chances are of Stars Reach actually hitting release?
Well, I got a lot invested in it, so I really hope they do.
Yeah.
I don't know time-wise. It's probably going to get pushed back.
It could.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems a little ambitious for next year.
It does, but considering the fact that the really hard stuff that they have to do has already been done, and mainly what they're doing is they're just implementing systems that they've done before into the game.
Yeah, and we don't see everything from behind the scenes either, so
true.
They may have a lot more work done that we don't know about. But like all the professions, all the different, pretty daunting, I think.
Yeah, but that's more of just sort of typing everything in and inputting the information and setting the rule sets, in my mind.
See, I don't program, so I don't know what's all involved in.
Yeah, so basically, if all that stuff is, if all the rule sets and stuff are in Unity, it just takes a designer to go in and go, okay, I'm going to create a new skill system. I'm going to name it this. This skill system is going to, have this ability and this ability that you can unlock. And it's just sort of a drop down of this interacts with this type of, this system. This skill interacts with this system. This, skill interacts with this weapon type of thing. If they've coded everything right, which, concerning with their vast knowledge of experience and what I've seen of the little bit of behind the scenes, that's sort of the direction they've gone, which makes it very easy. I think that's part of the reason why Dave is able to so quickly put out new types of creatures and variations of those creatures. Is he just grabs those creatures like, okay, I want to make a variation on the sky shark. I grab the sky shark. I want the sky shark to now, instead of just shoot this acid. I want to shoot electricity, or I want to shoot fireballs. And he just goes through this drop down of power sets and sets those. And I think that's the reason why they're able to do such a quick turnaround on things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if they have all the substructure all built, I mean, hell, we have a playable game basically. It is right now. So.
Well, and that's the thing. It is very playable. In fact, you know, I'm sort of the one thing that upsets me the most is that we have it's not up 24/7. Because me personally, I'm already hooked in the game. I want to play more than I'm able to play now. Do you feel the same way?
See, I work for myself, or I own my own business, so I can kind of schedule around play times. Yeah, but it does kind of put a damper on things.
It does. And, you know, I'm the same way. I work for myself. And so I run my own business, and it allows me to play when the test times are up. Now, my question is with you running your own business, how hooked into the game are you right now that you might worry that might overconsume you in gameplay?
It's been doing it for 30 years. I just have to do
it. But I mean, not every game you play does that, right?
No, but there are quite a few that do.
Yeah. Do you think Stars Reach is one of those games where you're really gonna have to watch your time and manage it wisely, or do you think it's one of those games that you're just gonna pick up every so often, play a little bit, and then move on?
Oh, like I said, no, I'll mine for 5 hours and go, oh, we're shutting down? What? Wait, I'm not done.
So it's one of those where you're gonna have to watch and manage your time.
Oh yeah, because I'm pretty much at most of the tests unless I'm out of town or something comes.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you manage your time? Do you set an alarm clock, or is it just a natural memory reminder? What do you do to let you know I need to stop gaming and go do this, or go to sleep, go eat, things like that?
Oh well, if I get hungry, I go eat. If somebody calls me and I got to go do a job, I go do a job. But other than that, I mean, I'm married, but we don't have any kids, so it's not super problematic.
Now, is your partner a gamer also?
Yes, not as much as she used to be, but yeah, if the game's right.
Are they interested in Stars Reach, or are they playing Stars Reach?
Not as of yet.
Not as of yet. Have they taken a look at Stars Reach?
A little bit, but she, I said I don't. It's kind of hard to get her to get into something.
Yeah.
Maybe
so she hasn't said whether or not she's interested in the game yet.
Maybe later, once it's more cleaned up, we're released. She may.
Okay, so she's more along the lines of play the game when it's finished.
Probably, yeah. I don't think she's ever been involved in a beta. So.
Yeah, I sort of took it by you saying that you were in the betas for Ultima Online and Star Wars Galaxies and stuff like that. That you're one of those people that like to help with finding the bugs to make the game more stable.
Oh yeah.
Now, were you also in the beta for PlanetSide?
Never did play PlanetSide.
Never did play PlanetSide. That's right. You're not the combat side of things. Was it that way even back then that you weren't much into combat?
No, I mean over the years. I mean, I've played a lot of shooters. I mean, I've played Duke Nukem and I don't know, all kinds of shooter games and stuff over the years. But I just you get a little older and not quite as good, and I just kind of have steered away from it.
Okay.
Yeah, we used to do 15-hour EverQuest raids.
Oh yeah.
From 8 a.m. to 3 o'clock in the morning. Saturday through Sunday.
Well, it's like hunting for the flowing black silk sash in Lower Guck.
Yeah.
That's insane. I spent months down there in the frenzy room. So, I know that feeling. With that being said, talking about spending those hours doing that one thing. I know you said that you spend a lot of your time in getting lost in the mining in Stars Reach. Is there anything else that you sort of lose track of time when doing something in Stars Reach besides the digging and mining?
Uh, well, here we got to do the kind of grind to craft up to level up,
Mhm.
and then building. I mean, I'll spend hours building the house.
Okay. Now, you mentioned the grind, crafting to leveling up and stuff like that. What are your feels of the grind to gain XP right now in the given skill trees?
Well, we had it really, really easy. Now this is feeling a little more, when it goes live, you don't want to be able to just level up in an
Yeah.
afternoon. And I think it's going to get worse as time goes on. Well, when it goes 24/7, it's not going to be as bad. Um, but now that our testing is going for weeks on end, it's really, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, it kind of sucks, but it is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Chase, I want to thank you for your time in this interview. I look forward to seeing you in the game and chatting with you more. And for those of you that are interested in looking at or getting into the test, linked down in the description down below is a link to their Kickstarter and their website. And have a great night.